How many racing games do you think were made about chart-topping artists? I'm probably gonna guess not many, but today we're covering one of those games. And oh boy, is it a banger. Welcome to the Worst Racing Games, the internet series where you guys suggest different racing games that you think are terrible, and then I play them, review them, and rank them. So last week we had a PS1 game called Kubik's Robots for Everyone, Race and Robots, which I genuinely just had to look up because I've already forgotten about it. And this week the wheel has moved us up a generation of consoles back onto the PlayStation 2, because this, my friends, is Crazy Frog Racer. Oh god, okay. So before we talk about Crazy Frog himself, let's just actually talk about the history of this game a little bit. So, Crazy Frog Racer was actually only released in Europe and Australia. It was developed by Nico Entertainment and published by Digital Jesters. Nico Entertainment have developed a fair few licensed tie-in games in their time, ranging from Charlie's Angels to a Build-A-Bear game to Bratz and even Postman Pat, so not exactly the highest tier of licensed video games. So the game released in 2005 for the following platforms: the PlayStation 2, Nintendo DS, PC, and the Game Boy Advance. And today we are looking at the PlayStation 2 version, which I believe is almost identical to the PC version as well. So if you've not seen this weird thing before, you're probably wondering, what the hell is Crazy Frog? And, well, it's a whole thing, let me tell you. So, the Crazy Frog, also known as the Annoying Thing, kind of spawned out of an internet meme back in 2003 of someone trying to do an impression of a two-stroke engine. That's not a joke, it's a Swedish internet meme, I guess, if I was going to simplify it. It then became a ringtone and was used in TV marketing and God knows what else, and it just became this viral sensation, and eventually had a hit single covering Axel F, the Beverly Hills Cop theme song, which went to #1 in like loads of different countries, including here in the UK. My parents bought me this CD when I was a child. Why? No, they didn't like it. I didn't like it. I'm pretty sure I still own it somewhere. I also had a McDonald's Happy Meal toy that had that song on it as well. Yeah, anyway, the point is, the Crazy Frog was kind of like the Baby Shark of a previous generation. I think that's the best way I can sum it up. It's the Baby Shark of the early 2000s, and that's all I can really say. Now, apparently, in the 2020s, he's made a comeback to some degree, according to the wiki page. I haven't seen that, but that's probably for the best. Alright, so now we've established who the Crazy Frog / Annoying Thing actually is, let's take a look at the menu design of Crazy Frog Racer featuring the Annoying Thing. So the main menu is quite literally a still image of the Crazy Frog and some robot thing in the background chasing him, with a bunch of different options, including 1 to 2 players, your records, options, and a jukebox that you can listen to the game's soundtrack on, which we'll actually get into a bit more later. Now, it's a very standard menu, but, you know, it gets across the point that this is a Crazy Frog game because there he is, looking absolutely harrowing right at the front of the screen. Once you select single player, you get 4 different options. So you've got Championship, which is the main mode of the game, I suppose. You get 4 different cups, each with 4 races. There's a single race, which is very self-explanatory, time trials, where you can do a time trial on every single track, and Chase, where you play exclusively as the Crazy Frog and have to outrun some droids that are chasing you. Scary stuff, I know. Now, just on a side note, this game actually does have a retro achievement set, so I'm not gonna lie, I was actually trying to get all the achievements whilst I was making this video. Haven't accomplished that yet, but I will be returning to this game after I finish the editing process. Now, just before we go any further, please consider hitting that like button if you're enjoying the video, as it really helps out, and if you're new around here, consider hitting that subscribe button as well, and it would all be very much appreciated by me. Anyway, let's keep going. So, Crazy Frog Racer is this kind of anti-grav racer with some very crazy tracks with big jumps, whether or not it intends to have them or not. So how does it actually play? Well, this is a very fast-paced racing game. Usually you'll be at speeds of like 250 miles per hour on straights and anywhere from like 100 to 200 on corners and in jumps. The hundreds don't feel very fast, but once you're over 200, yeah, it does have some decent sense of speed to it. But for the fact that I'm doing like 150 up a hill, it feels like I'm going at like 30. So the handling is incredibly loose, and I guess you're not actually feeling the track because it's all anti-grav. You don't feel any grip, or really anything, to be honest. Corners come up way too fast that you'll have to just spend your time staring at the minimap, and even then, you can't react to them quick enough, and because of the game's terrible, poor, loose handling, you'll just fly off the side of it and have to get reset. But thankfully, it's not just you, because the AI struggles with that as well. The way that these slopes and inclines on all the tracks are designed just feel like there was no actual testing done before they released the game. They kind of just grabbed the slopes with their mice, dragged them up and down, and then went, yeah, that'll be fine, and then never ever bothered to test it, because half these corners you go around into a big hill, you just fly over, and you can pull off like the craziest shortcuts if you spend the time learning the tracks and stuff, and I don't believe that was intentional. I mean, I could be wrong, but there was a point after the second race in a cup that I just wanted to quit and restart because I wasn't going to win, and the game wouldn't let me quit. I'd sat there and spammed the X button on the pause menu, and it would not let me leave the game, so I had to reset the whole thing. So one thing I do actually find quite interesting about Crazy Frog Racer is the health and weapons system. Throughout every track, there are coins scattered, and the more of those coins pick up, the better weapons and pickups that you can use. And then in the middle of your screen, you have a health bar with like a cog on it. If you fall off the track, you'll lose some health. If you get hit by items, you'll lose some health. But there's also these cogs scattered around as well, so it's kind of hard to actually lose all of your health. Anyway, you have a bunch of different items to choose from, such as landmines, lasers, missiles, and a boost. Most of them cost about 1,000 to 2,000 coins, which you'll very quickly replenish, and you cycle through them using the left bumper and the left trigger. It's quite an interesting setup that I personally haven't seen in a racing game before. I'm sure it probably has been used before, but I've not played a game with it in, so that's kind of fascinating. But no amount of cool weapons is going to make up for the fact that these tracks feel like they were designed by a toddler. Now, in terms of track variety, as I say, there are 12 different tracks. However, these tracks are simply different sections of one enormous city circuit. The city in question is the setting that that music video was set in, where the Crazy Frog rides around to Axel F. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. But yeah, so all 12 tracks are just variations of the same circuit in the same environment, just with a slightly different layout each time. Even after spending hours playing, it's really difficult to actually distinguish between which track is which when I'm looking at footage, because it's just impossible to tell. Half of them have the exact same sections, it's all the same background, and they're all poorly designed, so how the hell am I supposed to tell the difference? I mean, that might not have been such a problem if the city itself were, like, at least interesting, but it's just a confusing mess of highways, tunnels, hills, and some really annoying, obnoxious corners. When you first start playing and aren't used to the very shoddy track design, the biggest objective is just actually staying on the track rather than winning races. Which, you know, leads me to the fact that for a racing game, Crazy Frog Racer seems almost hell-bent on punishing players for driving quickly. Hit one of the larger jumps at a decent speed, and you will simply be sent into the stratosphere, and the camera just doesn't show you where you're landing until the last moment. It should feel exciting, you know, big jumps in a racing game, it's supposed to be cool, but it just becomes a really annoying guessing game. The tracks also contain several unused roads left over from the larger city circuit, so after a jump you might be aiming for what appears to be a perfectly normal section of road, only to fall straight through it because it's not a part of the current track that you're on. This part seems especially ridiculous because most of these vehicles are capable of flying. Why? What? I don't even have any words, guys. Now, I know earlier I mentioned that the championship mode consists of 4 cups, and that is true, technically. So you start on the Baby Cup, which consists of 4 races, and then once you've completed that, you unlock the Funny Cup, which also consists of 4 races. And then after completing the Funny Cup, you unlock the Crazy Cup. And then once you've done all 3 of those cups, well, you will unlock the Special Cup. So what special tracks does the Special Cup have in store for you, you may wonder? Well, let me tell you. It does not contain any special tracks. In fact, It forces you to race through all 12 courses in a single championship. And some of the later races take like 10 minutes, and that's not a joke. They can take up to 10 minutes. So completing it can take ages. And your reward for surviving that absolute hellscape of a marathon is one extra character. That's it. Yippee. So speaking of characters, when you boot up the game, you have 8 that you can choose from. You will definitely only know one of them, being the Crazy Frog himself, and the rest are all these random characters that I believe were made for this game. I could be wrong, but they look like they definitely were. Aside from the drone, which I'm pretty sure was in the music video as well. But yes, we've got characters like Flash, who looks like an edgier Subway Surfer, Ellie, who is a fairy who rides a motorcycle for some reason, there's a chef-looking guy, a ninja-looking guy, and that's all I can remember off the top of my head. What I'm trying to say is, this is not a memorable roster of characters at all, aside from the fact that the Crazy Frog is here, and I'll be damned if I ever forget him. Now, in terms of visuals, this is not really that good of a looking game. It's just quite bland, to be honest with you, and I think that's entirely down to the fact that the game only has that one environment. If there was a bit more going on visually, I'd probably be slightly less harsh, but the city itself is just incredibly dull. The characters are okay, I guess. Crazy Frog is definitely Crazy Frog, and the rest of them are at least distinct enough from each other that you can tell them apart. And in all fairness, some of them do have some slightly nice animations, but that's kind of all that I can really say on a positive side of things. It's just a very bland looking game. It's certainly not the worst that we've seen on the PS2 by a country mile, but it's still not that great. The soundtrack, on the other hand, is surprisingly okay for a mid-2000s budget racing game. Thankfully, that famous Crazy Frog Axel F is not here. Thank you, game. But it includes several similar Euro dance tracks, but the advantage here is the Crazy Frog is not shouting over them, it's just some beats, and that's fine. Each track complements this kind of dreary city vibe, and I mean that in a good way. The city itself is still rubbish, but the music is actually good. So, how did Crazy Frog Racer hold up when the game released in terms of its review scores and also reaction from actual players? So, due to the slightly niche nature of this game only releasing in certain regions, it doesn't actually have a Metacritic score, but on the website Moby Games, they've compiled a bunch of reviews which give it an average of 21% out of 100. Yikes. And it has a 3 out of 5 star average from players, which is, a little bit higher than I was expecting, but, fair enough, I guess. One review, actually from IGN, quoted it as being dangerous enough to be classified as a controlled substance. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, and if you play it, you clearly hate yourself. So, yeah, there we go, that sums it up. Now, I couldn't find any sales figures for this game whatsoever, but I thought I'd hop on over to price charting to see how much the game is worth in the current retro game kind of market. And, it didn't disappoint. I was expecting this to either be the lowest of the low, or ridiculously high, and you'll be very pleased to know it's on the lower side. So if you want to get a second-hand, complete in-box copy of this game, it's going to set you back between about £2 to £3. That's it. It's literally cheaper than a meal deal from a supermarket. And if you want to buy it new, still sealed, £9. That's it. This game is literally valueless. That's so funny. Alright, so I think that's about as much Crazy Frog as I can possibly take, so let's get this game ranked in the worst racing games tier list. Now, before I properly get into it, I just wanted to give an update in regards of having this tier list and the worst racing games wheel accessible to everyone, and you'll be pleased to know that it is actually now available. So I have a website that's in the description below, and there's now a worst racing games page on there, which you can access from the homepage. On there will be the up-to-date tier list. It's not the biggest image, but you can zoom in on it, and it's high res, so you can actually see everything. And then I've got a table below with all the worst racing game wheel entries on there. It's not quite finished because it takes ages to type every single game in individually, but I'm getting there and it's available to view now. Anyway, let's rank Crazy Frog on this tier list. So, to be honest, this game is hilarious. Like, it's just ridiculous. The pause menu has those awful Crazy Frog sounds, you fly off the track at any given moment, the physics are terrible, but it's still got this weird, endearing charm to it, and I think that might be down to a little bit of retro achievements as well. But I think for me, Crazy Frog Racer is so bad that it's actually kind of good. I have fun. Don't get me wrong, the Crazy Frog part of it did start to get annoying quite quickly, because, you know, he is the annoying thing, but overall, this game was kind of fun. It's just broken as hell, it's janky as hell, and it's kind of irritating. So yeah, so bad that it's kind of good. Alright, so that brings us to the end of our look at Crazy Frog Racer for the PS2. Now, I've still got to play the DS version of this game, that's still on the wheel, and Crazy Frog Racer 2. So this isn't the end of my battle with the Crazy Frog. There's still 2 more parts to come at some point in the future. So let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of this game? What do you think of the whole Crazy Frog friend thing? I don't know. It's very irritating. Share your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you have a suggestion to add to that wheel, as always, put it down there as well. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like, and if you haven't done so already, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as it really helps out. A massive shout out to my Patreon subscribers for the continued support. Thank you guys. And all I really have left to say is thank you and goodbye.